What's up, you guys? Welcome to another edition of Dog Talk with Holton. Hope you guys are doing good this evening. Obviously, if you're joining in with us by now, you probably know that Georgia and Missouri has been postponed, so there will not be a game this weekend, which is going to make this episode pretty short, pretty simple. All I'm going to do is talk just a little bit about some of the Georgia information that we do have coming around, and hope you guys enjoy, even though, again, it's not going to be ton of content on it considering that. So nonetheless, let's jump right into it. I'll pull up for you guys the schedule that is coming up. You guys follow me on Twitter at DawgTalk20. Again, the support page is always open as well, so that'll be in the description if you guys wanted to support. Won't force you to do anything. You can do whatever you want. Here is the top 25 that I'll get pulled up for us real quick. Boom, there we go, as well as the schedule. And you can see that they have postponed the Missouri game. Looks like to that SEC championship day on the 19th, barring that somehow a miracle happens and Georgia gets to the SEC championship, which would take Florida losing twice, I believe, to an SEC East opponent, which is pretty unlikely considering it's Vandy, Kentucky, and Tennessee. I think a lot of things have to go the Dogs' way for something like that to happen, and Georgia get the opportunity to be able to get into the SEC championship. So unfortunate for our Dogs, but nonetheless, we're going to roll on with it. That more than likely will be the makeup date, and I did see where the SEC came out and they released that some of these games can be played on that date. Again, if you're not playing in that championship game, because Missouri already has a makeup game against Vanderbilt that has been postponed to December 12th, so we couldn't play them then. A lot of cancellations throughout the week. I'll pull up some of these around the SEC. I know I think outside of the top 25 there was not really a big one, but Ohio State and Maryland, which may have been a good one. That one's been canceled. And in the Big Ten, if a game gets canceled, it's canceled. That's all there is to it. There's no replay in those games. So looking around the SEC, you only have 3 games this weekend, which was going to be a full slate of 7. Alabama LSU was canceled. Got postponed. Don't know when they'll play that one, because I know LSU has to play Florida at the end of the season on the 12th. But with those, I don't know this for sure, but I would think with those 2 teams, Alabama and LSU being in the West, I would think that that's a game that trumps LSU having to play a team from the East in Florida. Considering the fact that Florida and Alabama at this point will be the teams playing in the SEC championship game on the 19th. So it'll be interesting to see what the SEC does there as far as who has to play. More than likely, like I say, I would think with it being a West matchup, even though in the end I don't think it's going to make a difference, I think you have to have Alabama and LSU play as opposed to LSU and Florida on that 12th, especially if Alabama and Florida are set to play on the 19th. The only downfall for both of those teams is if they're going to be in the SEC championship, they will no longer have a bye before that game, before the end of the season. I think that's if Florida doesn't have any other kind of cancellation. I don't know if they've had to postpone a couple or just one or not. I'm not 100% on that. But regardless, if Alabama was to have to reschedule and play LSU the week after the regular season, week before the SEC championship, they would not have a bye. Same thing goes for Florida if they put them in that situation. So something to keep an eye on there as far as what the SEC is going to do about that. Texas A&M and Tennessee, that was set for this weekend as well, has been postponed as cases continue to rise there at Texas A&M. Georgia, Missouri, this is the first game that's affected Georgia as far as a postponement goes. There has been the move around where Kentucky backed up a week to play Georgia the week before we play Florida. But this is on Missouri's side. Luckily, and knock on wood, hopefully it continues this way, that Georgia hasn't had any cases that have been predominantly important enough to have to postpone a game or anything like that. Auburn, Mississippi State, same thing. Mississippi State has got some numbers rising there, so that one's been postponed. The only games thus far that you're going to have this weekend are Vandy and Kentucky, and that one's going to be on the SEC Network at 12 o'clock. You also have Arkansas and Florida, even though Arkansas's head coach Sam Pittman, he has contracted the virus. I don't know if there's a couple others that have or hadn't in that one, but that one will be played at 7 o'clock on ESPN. That could be a tight spot for Florida. I think they're going to take care of business, especially if Sam Pittman, which as of right now will not be coaching in that game. So if he's not coaching in that game, I do think that makes a bit of a difference for Arkansas, I think Florida should be able to handle it, but you just never know. Then the last one is South Carolina, Ole Miss. They will both be playing, both 2-4. Got a feeling Ole Miss is going to take care of business at the house, and it just keeps that seat hot for Will Muschamp up there in Carolina. So that's your games that we do have going on this weekend outside of some of your top 25 matchups. We're going to see how things shake out. I did read earlier that Kirby did say that we're going to treat this week as if it's a spring scrimmage practice kind of week, so that way you can get a lot of the younger guys some repetition. Because at the end of the day, if Georgia can win out for the rest of their season, first of all, between Mississippi State, Missouri, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt, and the important of those three will be Missouri, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt being in the East. You wouldn't want to fall to Mississippi State either, but as far as East rankings go, you have to beat those other three teams. And barring a miracle that Florida was to lose one of their last three East games, Georgia more than likely has lost out on the chance and lost out on their goals of the season, which was to win the East again, win the SEC championship, get to the playoffs to play for a national championship. Unfortunately, as of right now, those dreams and those goals for this season are way up in the air and not in our hands. So as of now, we're just going to move forward. It's time to prepare some of your guys for basically the 2021 season. Get your seniors some reps. Get your seniors some numbers under their belt, as well as they can get prepared for the NFL draft if they choose to do so. Some of your juniors as well. You know, there's always some that are going to leave early and do that same thing. So I think it's time to prep for that. It's time to find your quarterback and figure out what quarterback we're going to deal with the rest of the season. And also, I think it's time, hey, if we're going to do that, let's go ahead and prepare a quarterback this season for next. I don't think Stetson would be the guy this week. I know he didn't practice Monday or Tuesday. I'm not sure about Wednesday if he practiced or not. That shoulder's still been giving him trouble. But I did hear that they actually had a game plan in motion and basically ready for Missouri on Wednesday, which is good news. That means that they would have had another day basically to get prepped up for that game before leaving on Friday to head to the game on Saturday. Obviously, postponing that changes that. So we were at least ahead of the game on that, and I think that means at the end of the season when we do have that not rematch, but that game against them from the reschedule, I should say, we should be fairly well prepared. Obviously, things can change between now and then. But the good news is, like I say, you get your young guys in there, get them some reps, get them some experience, treat it like a spring. That sounds good to me. I have no issues with that. And let's find out a quarterback. Let's figure out what quarterback we're going to go with for the rest of the season. Obviously, Stetson wouldn't be here next season, so that won't matter. But you do have Dwan Mathis, Carson Beck, and JT Daniels at the helm there that can take over. Obviously, we've seen a lot of Dwan, and there's been moments of brightness, and then there's been moments of darkness. We haven't seen anything from JT Daniels, anything from Carson Beck yet, so it'd be fun to see a little bit from them. Obviously, we've got the five-star commit that's coming in next season in Brock Vandegrift. He looks really good. He could be promising next season as things come. If we can have a normal season, hopefully we get to see him in the spring and kind of see what he looks like. Obviously, coronavirus will be the telltale sign there on what will or will not come. Fingers crossed on all that, and we'll figure it out once the time comes. Nonetheless, I think, like you said, like I was saying earlier, is we just kind of figure out what our okay, I was sorry about that. I was just checking on some other stuff that I had pop up here. But anyways, we're going to be looking to see if we can't find out some position players. Start to get our guys healthy. Luckily, it kind of comes at a time where we're really beat up. Start getting some of these guys that are dinged up and beat up back in. Get them ready to play ball. Because we're definitely missing out on some of these guys between running backs, George Pickens, the wide receiver, and then obviously some of your defensive guys there as well. See if I can get my thing to play here. Music's acting a little bit slow and funny so far this year. There we go. Man, it wasn't quite the one that I wanted, but that's okay. We'll get a little bit of it coming up here. I do think that Kirby would be very, very smart in this situation once he does figure out a quarterback. Obviously, it depends on how the guy's doing, but I'd like to see the guy stay there. I'd like to see whoever you pick come in and be able to stay in that position and actually get some work in and get us prepped up. Whether it's Dwan, whether it's JT Daniels, obviously everybody, including myself, has been kind of crawling and crying for JT Daniels just because I think most of that is because we hadn't seen him. we want to see him. We want to see what the guy can do, see if he's any good, see if he's not, see if he can get through these progressions. I do know that Kirby did say that he has a really good arm, which is awesome. I'd love to see it in a game. Unfortunately, this weekend we're not going to get to see it, but hopefully next weekend when we move on and we take on Mississippi State at the house, hopefully we can figure that out. Obviously going up against a Mike Leach team there that's got a lot of struggles. Started off the season hot, but got a lot of struggles from this point on. Will be kind of fun taking them on, and it might be the right opponent for Georgia to get to play right here nearing the end of the season to get prepped up for what's to come. Obviously, a bowl game at this point is the best we can hope for, but if for some reason the Gators can lose a couple of them and the Dogs do get a chance at the SEC championship, we got to be prepared for it because you know, you got a long way to go from there. I think it's going to be really, really difficult as a two-loss team to be able to get in a playoff. But I do think if you could somehow get into that SEC championship game, somehow win it, you're either messing everything up for whoever's at top, or you know, you come into this one and you get your shot at the playoff as a two-loss team. I think that's a long shot. Like I said, I think if we're just being real here, I think our best shot at this point is just prepping up for the end of the season, play a bowl game, get ready for next year as far as this season goes. But, you know, that's kind of how things shake out when it comes down to it. Nonetheless, you know, I don't have a lot for you guys today outside of just a little bit of my own opinion there. Because I hate a weekend when Georgia's not playing. The weekend that things got swapped up and we swapped up from playing Kentucky one week to the next and had that bye week. You know, it kind of stunk. I think I'm always used to having a bye week before Florida, so which is never fun having a bye week because you don't get to see your team play, but nonetheless, you at least get to see some games. This weekend, there's not even a top 25 matchup, so it's a pretty boring weekend, especially with the SEC sitting out. Even if the SEC was in, it still looked like a pretty boring slate. I think, let me double check here what I was just looking at. I think I saw... nope, I don't know when my normal schedule is not up here. Anyway, let me just look back here at my other page because I did actually have those pulled up on here. I did see, yeah, Georgia, Missouri doesn't look like it'd be too exciting. Auburn, Mississippi State, maybe. A&M, Tennessee, I figured A&M would have probably taken care of that one. Alabama, LSU, you know, a lot of people wanted to give it a height, but Alabama, I think, at this point would roll LSU. I do think the Arkansas-Florida game will be one to watch, just because Arkansas's defense is good, but Kyle Trask has got that offense rolling there for Florida, so I got a feeling they're going to kind of breeze on through that one, especially with Sam Pittman, the guy who's really given that motivation to that Arkansas team out. But nonetheless, you do at least get Felipe Franks back in Florida territory. We'll see how that shakes out for him. But anyway, I mean, again, like I was saying earlier, I don't have a lot for you guys other than that little bit that we talked about there. So, again, short, sweet, simple. We'll go ahead and hop out of here, and I'll check in with you guys next week as we get prepped up for the Mississippi State game. Obviously, I'll catch you guys up on some of these games that did come out from the weekend. We'll go from there. Outside of that, go Dogs.